In Red Corner's opinion, of resources and moves. We did not come up with the idea that wars are won by those who have more resources. The very announcement of the referendums in Donbass and the Kherson and Zaporozhye regions came as a shock. This move has radically changed the strategic landscape. For the West, it first of all means that their economic split with Russia is now entering a long-term phase. Notably, the Russian stock market, which did not really react to the Russian troops' withdrawal from the Kharkov region, and then practically crashed once the referendums were announced, took the news about the partial mobilization that came the following day calmly. It even regained the previous positions. The logic of that is clear: new territories with new opportunities will be incorporated into the economy. The partial mobilization, as it was announced, does not in fact signify a serious increase of the armed forces. Only about 1.5% of reservists are being called up. This certainly can't lead to a sharp surge of combat operations. It is going to take several months to draft 300,000 people, to train them and to make capable fighting units out of them. Then why wasn't the mobilization mechanism activated earlier? It appears that at the onset of the operation, it was not clear how long it might take to finish it, so perhaps at the time it did not make sense to have extra personnel on hand. The number of mobilized personnel could also suggest that the end state of the operation may not be a complete dismantling of the Ukraine as a state but some kind of a peace agreement on Russia's terms. It seems so because neither 300,000 nor 500,000 troops would be sufficient to control a territory that is larger than France. That may have also been one of the reasons that the decision on the integration of the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics has taken so long. Remember the Minsk agreements that define the future status of the republics as a federalized but a part of the Ukraine, although with a seriously large autonomy. In such scenario, Russia could recognize the republics just as well but without incorporating them. Now, however, seeing the West's readiness to dump enormous resources into the Ukrainian black hole, Moscow is shutting down that opportunity for its opponents. That is, the territories that became a part of Russia will not be a bargaining chip any longer. This means that the operation is morphing into a different format, which is the exhaustion of the Ukrainian resources, all of them. The recent strikes at the Ukrainian infrastructure indirectly confirm that. The risks of the degradation of the post-war humanitarian and the economic situation are now being shifted to a point in the future. What is clear that the reason for the change in strategy was not the lack of the initially allocated force. The task of grinding up the opponent's troops has been carried out just fine, judging by the numbers of the Ukrainian losses that Minister Shoigu recently specified. And as to launching a massive offensive operation, the newly mobilized reservists are still not enough according to the classic military formula of at least a triple manpower advantage that is required for an offensive. So, it appears that the mobilization is being conducted for other reasons. Those who run out of moves lose games and wars, said Zhin Tszya. Today, the Ukraine is running out of moves. The four waves of mobilization, the growing internal and external debt, the failed economy, the depleted NATO arsenals, and the growing fatigue of its key partners resulting in their dwindling support as their own problems are taking precedence, and those are just a few factors that limit what the Ukraine can do to win the war. Moscow, on the other hand, keeps demonstrating that its economy is stable, that its resources are vast, that its weapons stockpiles are inexhaustible, that its allies are in support, and that its mobilization potential has yet hardly been touched, and that Russia has many more moves in stock. Its opponents have seen but a few of them so far. Thanks for listening.